All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Scott Harris. Scott, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for having me here.
You bet. I'm looking forward to this. You and I got to connect before, and actually, you were traveling at the time, and so we kind of and your dad was there waiting. Like, yeah, my dad's waiting for me to finish talking, so I go hang out with him, and so we
Yeah.
made it quick, but it was a good conversation. It was a great conversation, and you got a copy of your book in the background there. And what I
Yes.
love about what you shared with me about your book was kind of like, because I was asking questions about it. And you're like, Kev, I don't really have this big grandiose plan for the book. I just want to get it out there and help people out, you know? And
I mean,
so,
it's we could get a little grandiose about it. I
okay.
want to I want to change the conversation around what it means to buy a home
Okay.
and turn that from what everyone thinks is a transaction
Yep.
to what it really is. If you ask anybody who's already bought a home, they will often remember the emotional journey that they went to get there.
Yeah.
And that's not something that people are really talking about. And
Yeah.
they try to turn it into this financial conversation, and that's not really where, say, 95% of the conversation is.
Yeah.
Most of it is around emotional and spiritual and psychological and all of those kinds of things that are under the surface that no one seems to want to talk about, but everybody goes through.
You know what's interesting? Now that you're saying that, we moved into this home 17 years ago, and you are out. There was a very emotional story around moving, and I won't tell it here, but there is a really emotional story about moving into this home 17 years ago, And wow, yeah, you're right on the mark, man. So, well, before we get carried away, I want to start off by just giving a shout out to Brianna and to Kristen and the whole team over at Interview Valet, because that's how you and I got connected. And man, I just love those guys. I love what they do. I love that they have sent me some absolutely amazing podcast guests in the past. And so now, whenever I get an email from Brianna or Kristen, it's kind of like Christmas time. I don't know exactly what's going to be in it, but I do know it's going to be good, And so I'm always excited to see them. And that's how you and I connected. And like that just means the world, because that's the best way to get connected with somebody, is through somebody you've already got a great relationship with. And so what it was, I just want to start off by, I'll just ask you, I'll just lob you a real easy question to start with, and we'll just go there. Scott, what do you do and who do you serve? You've already kind of alluded to it. So
Okay, sure. So I am the founder of a boutique residential real estate brokerage firm in Manhattan, in New York City, called Magnetic. I've been a residential real estate agent in New York for almost 23 years.
okay. Okay.
And so I serve the people who are buying and selling real estate here in New York, and I end up connecting with people all over the globe.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I found so fast. And I should clarify this because you've got this book out, and it's available for people who live anywhere to benefit from. But yet, the reality is most of them, if they don't live in your area, they're never probably going to become a client of yours. And yet you
That's right.
still are just trying to help folks out and stuff. It doesn't matter where they live, doesn't matter if they ever become a client of yours.
Yeah, the way what happened is that I felt really drawn to write this book because I wanted to help give my wisdom to people everywhere that they are in the US. Really, it was first-time home buyers in the US. Then I realized it's not just first-time home buyers, it's people who haven't been in the market in a while, who just haven't connected with this. They're likely in a very different place in their lives,
Mhm.
or the real estate agents who serve them. Because people that are newer in the real estate business really do need to get into the minds and the hearts of their clients to understand what they actually go through. I think that real estate agents should go buy a home every so often just to remind themselves of that emotional journey themselves, to really internalize it. But my feeling is that you put good things into the world and they come back from everywhere, and you
Yes,
just
we do.
keep on doing good work, and it So far, it's helped me sell about $2 billion of real estate. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
That's
man.
right. Something's working, right?
Something's working.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there's no hiding your passion for this. What inspires you most about the work you do and the impact that you get to make, Scott?
When I was able to finally put like a finer point on this, Kevin, maybe a handful, maybe 7 years ago, that when I first got into real estate, I was in the rental side of the business, which is something you can do here in New York. You can make a living doing that, but it felt very transactional.
Okay.
And then I got into sales. And, I want to step back and just say that I'm a child of divorce. And in my childhood, until I was 18, I moved back and forth to from my one parent to the other. I figured I did the math. I must have moved about 500 times between their houses. And
Wow.
as I started to close and help people buy homes, I was getting such satisfaction from doing it. And I finally put two and two together. I realized that when I'm helping people find their homes, I'm also doing some work to kind of heal the damage of being from a broken home myself.
Oh,
And
wow.
when I bought a home, when I got married, my wife and I started, we bought one apartment, then we bought another. It's all that same work. It's like, wow, to have a place that's really yours, it changed my life. And I know that, what I'm able to do is doing great work for other people. So that's what drives me every day. And then big picture, I love helping people. Real
Yeah.
estate's the vehicle, but it's certainly not the only way I help people.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I just have a passion for helping people. Like you, I'm very curious. So I listen and I learn. And then the next step is to try to connect them and help them whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, after 27 years of doing what you do, I'm sure you can come up with tons of examples to this question. But what is a result? And we don't have to name names here or anything like that. But what's a result that you've helped a client get that you're just incredibly proud of, Scott?
What we as real estate agents, we do realize that we help people find a home and then they start families there, or I help someone buy an apartment and then they get married. A lot of single people buy homes. It's not like they all wait to couple up in some way. I was one of the most satisfying. They're just these little moments. One of the first sales I ever did was helping an older Italian woman who was a divorcee find a home after a bad divorce. I've helped a lot of people through tough things, or when I will drop a name. This was really fun. I get a call from an estate attorney. He represented the estate of Maurice Sendak. If you
Oh,
remember who
wow.
Maurice Sendak is, he wrote that book and illustrated it called Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes.
And he was so in love with helping children. And when he died, his estate went to serve all these different organizations that helped kids.
Okay.
And we went in. The first thing we saw, we were going in. Oh, Scott, you see that painting with the flaking paint on the frame? Oh, that's a Toulouse-Lautrec. That's worth $1 million. And it was
Wow.
like this piece of art and that. The apartment itself that we were going to sell for him for his estate was like the least of his estate. But it
Mhm.
was really satisfying to know that we were actually helping many, many people when we sold this apartment. And
Yeah.
so it was just one of those things, like we were in business together to get the most amount of money for this estate so that they could go and do some good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just incredibly rewarding, incredibly fulfilling, you know. And yeah, I'm totally with you. Wow. Yeah, I mean, well, it's not like I talk with a ton of real estate agents, but I mean, we had a real estate agent when we bought this home, and she was a great person. She's actually passed away now, unfortunately.
Mm.
But you know, I think most real estate agents are not like you. I think a lot of them, they're just in it. They're just doing a thing. It's a job for them and stuff, and
Well, I want to push back a little bit because I
okay,
think that it's not that real estate agent. I mean, of course, I know very well, go watch TV, go watch movies. Real estate agents are not thought of in the best light. They're sort of put in the category with like tow truck drivers and meter maids, right? Like low reputational, thoughtful, that people don't really care for them. But I think that it really becomes, um, how do we elevate the conversation? How do we show what's possible when people go to buy a home? I firmly believe that real estate agents are doing sacred work, really important work. We're doing some of the most important work that there is. And so if people kind of change the way that they think about themselves and what they're doing, I think it changes the whole tenor of the dynamic
Yeah.
between the real estate agent. And I think some real estate agents just don't think about it. Just like buyers and sellers don't, they
Mhm.
sort of look at real estate agents like cardboard cutouts, like they're in their gold Century 21 jackets and they just open doors.
Yeah.
And I would encourage people to think about the real estate agents as like, in smaller towns and communities, these are the people, they're in the community, they're doing good. They don't always think, oh, I need to bring my whole self into that relationship with the buyers and sellers that they're working with. But I
Mhm.
really believe like those relationships they can be much deeper than they are.
Absolutely.
But I think that not everybody's armed with the same starting place of like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And I think, ultimately that's why I wrote the book, because there's room there to make that relationship so much better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's such a huge distinction right there. It's just, when we just like genuinely care about the people that we serve, we just want the best for them. We want to be able to use our God-given gifts and abilities to just bring that to the table for serving the people that we serve and stuff. And yeah, you exemplify that. And it's just, and I mean, I like I said, I was just so impressed when we spoke the first time, and because I'm like, with the book, and it's like there's so many people that would read that book, you get it out there, that would never become clients of yours. And I'm just like, you know what, he just wants to really help people out, and just change the narrative around what the typical person getting ready to sell their home might think of a real estate agent. And I mean, that's just like so commendable. And I can only, I mean, man, I'm totally rooting for you on getting that book out there and stuff. And so well, okay, so now that we've got a little bit of context set here, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to move over to talking about relationships. And so I'm going to start off by asking you, Scott, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Okay, here we go,
Okay.
Evan. When I first left college, I wanted to be in the music business. I also
Okay.
was a singer and a performer. Those two things were happening at the same time. And I networked a little bit and I got a job as an intern at what's called a booking agency, which is
Okay.
is an entertainment. They represent bands or they represent the talent buyer, which is like a club, or in our case, a lot was colleges.
Okay.
I get introduced to a wonderful guy named Howie Cusack. I was living in Boston, and Howie took me on as an intern and really trained me up to do what is, a lot of people think, oh, real estate is so competitive and it's so hard and everything else. Well, I will say, go try to sell bands to a booker at a club, or a bunch of kids that are probably smoking weed half the time that they're on their phone calls, to help college kids bring talent to their campuses. It was really hard to put tours together for bands,
Uh-huh.
but I had an amazing mentor in Howie, and we worked together for the better part of 6 years. And I kind of didn't think about it when I moved to New York from Boston, but then as I got into real estate, I realized, oh my God, I'm armed with incredible skill at how to manage both crazy artists, performers, and I'm a crazy performer myself, and also how to manage to put deals together and really complicated. Producing concerts is so multifaceted, and putting bands on the road is like touring, putting booking tour, all of those things, all the skills I had from working with Howie really influenced the way that I was able to plug right into the real estate business when I started. I mean, right out of the gate, it made a huge, huge impact on my life. I'm still in touch with him. He lives out in
Are
Oregon
you?
now,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean, he let me go on the road with the band that I was in and like work from a cell phone and like dial up internet. I was like the original, work from home kind of a person. I was in an RV, then I would dial in and plug in and send all my emails and get them back. And I was working the phones, from as I'm doing 60,000 or 100,000 miles of touring a year. I'm really grateful to Howie for making a huge impact in my life.
Wow. Wow. So, so you were doing a lot of traveling and stuff back then. How were you traveling? Were you flying? Were you driving? Was
So we
this
were driving.
so
We were
this was road
driving.
tripping it and
Yeah,
stuff?
we had an RV
Uh-huh.
and we went all around the country performing a lot of performing arts venues, all sorts of things like that. We would, if you can imagine, there's a contemporary group called Pentatonics, which is
Okay.
like an a cappella group. We were like a boy band version of that with a
Okay.
beatbox. And we opened for lots of bands. This is, now 20, 23, 24 years ago when I was doing this, but we were opening for like NSYNC and all of those kinds of bands on the
Okay.
road sometimes. And we had a lot of fun. We did about a
Yeah.
thousand shows together when I was
Wow.
there.
Wow.
And I really credit that experience for making me appreciate what everyone, talk about giving back. I've
Yeah.
been to so many little towns in upstate New York and Indiana, in Ohio, all up and down the eastern seaboard, California, just all these little towns where you'd meet people living their lives and get to know them. And, everyone's got a story to tell,
Yeah.
Kevin. It's
Yes.
like, what is it about that person that makes them interesting and
That's right.
cool? And what's their superpower? Everybody's
Yeah.
got something that they're uniquely awesome at. And
Yes.
can't, if you prejudge them, you miss it. You
That's
just
right.
miss that moment.
Yeah.
And so if you can just be with somebody, I think you end up learning a lot. This started when I was 12. I went on my very best friend growing in the world. And when I grew up in New Orleans, his mom was the tour manager for the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. So
Okay.
I had a real appreciation for what it was like to go on the road because during spring break I got to go on tour with my best friend and his mom in the bus,
Yeah.
and it's just so cool, getting to
Wow.
see the country. I mean, America's got people don't like, oh, let's go to the Bahamas, let's fly to Mexico. There's a whole country here that is amazing that people just miss out on.
Yeah.
And that, of course, includes the people.
Yeah. 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 Well, so I want to dig in a little bit deeper on this with you. So, what's an example of a situation where you personally got to make a really substantial impact, and maybe even in the moment, maybe it surprised you a little bit, even, but yet you also know that would have never been possible if not for your relationship with Howie? What's an example of something like that?
I mean, Howie really set me up for the fundamentals, so much of the fundamentals. Um, and I just to be able to go into any situation and deal with the matter at hand. I mean, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I represented a songwriter who he's very well known. If I started the songs, he wrote a ton of songs that were popular in like the 60s and
Okay.
70s, and had made a lot of money as a result. But he was also this like crazy deal maker. And the night before he was buying buckle in, he was buying a $7 million townhouse. He
Okay.
calls me And he says, Scott, I need to borrow. Even though I told him 50 times about all of the closing costs, because when you buy your house, you have to pay taxes and all these other fees. And he just it did not register that he was going to have to spend about $350,000 in closing costs. He just
Okay.
didn't budget it. He calls me the night before the closing. Scott, can you lend me $350,000? And I think in those moments I conjure up what I remember, which was when I'm off stage at a concert with Howie, and a a very popular reggae act shows up to the show and pulls out a chainsaw and opens it up, and he's like, "You got to give me my money before I go on stage." And Howie looks at him right in the eye and says, "Get your butt on stage. You know you're going to get paid. Get out of my face with that." Like, it was just and so I'm inhabiting this
Uh-huh. Hmm.
ballsy guy, and I have a client asking me for money that of course I didn't have sitting around. And I was like, look, we're going to figure this out tomorrow. I'm not your guy, but we will figure out the answer. And then of course at the closing table, we kind of, he did some pretty significant gymnastics to make it happen, but we
Hmm.
did. And
Hmm.
somebody else had the ability to lend him some money that I didn't. But I think that those kinds of moments when things are like kind of like level 11
Yeah.
insane,
Yeah.
that's when I think he's the most the person I rely on.
Yeah. He just kind of equipped you to deal with the chaos and stuff that comes up on occasion and stuff. And
On occasion, like
is it a lot?
once a day. People like my home life is amazing. Like, I love my wife. We have a great relationship. My kids are great. And they say, like, there's some people who live, for the drama.
Mm.
They watch all these reality TV shows. Like, I don't need any of that. I have
No.
plenty of drama in my professional life, and I'm not complaining. I think I'm very good at managing it, but
Yeah.
it does require a certain skill set to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, for anybody that is listening to this going, man, Kevin, I really like Scott. I love who he is. I love how he shows up. And we've been talking about your book. Maybe they're thinking, man, I'd like to check out a copy of his book, or maybe I know somebody else that any resources, any websites we can share with folks.
Sure. So if you want to learn more about the book, first, there's a bunch of free resources so people can go on and get a flavor of what's in the book. And they
Okay.
can go to pursueyourhome.com. And
Okay.
right on the top, it says free resources. So you can find the free resources. That includes you can take an assessment to learn your own communication style. And why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because then you can start to figure out who's the right real estate agent that's going to really speak my language.
Mhm.
You start to get to know yourself a little bit more. I really strongly encourage people to take the time to be prepared before they jump in to looking at properties. It's like, slow
Okay.
down for a second. And all these resources online are really aimed to help people navigate, really practical tools to navigate the home buying experience. Because at the end of the day, your real estate agents, like, they're not the just the knowledge. It's the point is not for them to be knowledgeable. It's how do they hold that space for you so
Yeah.
that you can find what you really are going to love in that new home, which
Yeah.
is a even more important skill. It's 95% of the work has nothing to do with the transaction.
Yeah.
It's really about helping you discover what's true for you.
Yeah.
So the website has all sorts of tools.
Okay.
And then if they want to get more engaged in the work that I do on an ongoing basis, they can check out my LinkedIn profile. They can go to Harris Residential. They can find, I'm talking all the time about what it's like to be a real estate agent in New York City.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they can go on Instagram, and they want pretty pictures and all sorts of crazy stories and things like that, where, they can go to Scotty Harris, which I'm sure you'll put in the
Yep.
show notes,
Yep.
SCOTTIE Harris.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. 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 Well, there you go, everybody. Is there any last thing that you feel led to share, Scott, before we call it a wrap?
What I would say, Kevin, to people is that again, people want to think of buying a home as this transactional experience. And they go on reality TV and they go on Instagram and they see real estate presented as like this perfect thing. And then when the rubber meets the road and they're looking to do something themselves, their experience is so completely different.
Mhm.
What I would leave people with is my firm belief that you need to surround yourself with that team who really cares about you. This means the family and the friends that support you, that cheer you on, that are in the trenches with you,
Yeah.
that and then your professional people, your real estate agents, your mortgage brokers, and those kinds of your attorneys. But to really stay in open communication with the people that you know lift you up.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
if there are some people in your life and everybody knows who that person is that like kind of secretly wants you to fail, they kind of like want you, they don't want you to grow. Maybe those people you kind of leave on the outside of this conversation.
Okay.
And I think people they have a hard time kind of letting go of that part of their lives when they're doing this search.
Yeah.
But it is so important to surround yourself with that feeling where people see you and they hear you and you feel understood so that you can focus on what matters most to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, the experience is so much easier. And it's, I mean, by the way, this is like falling in love. And this is like your journey of, maybe you're having trouble getting pregnant. Like these are all emotional journeys. And I don't, that's why finding a home is one of the most stressful things people go through because it is so deeply important to our existence.
Yeah.
The word for human and the word for home are the same root, right? You
Mm.
can't
Mm.
untangle those two things.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today, Scott. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And man, I'm really excited to get this out there and share it with a lot of folks. So thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Kevin. Thanks a lot.
You bet.